So when it comes to standing out as a mortgage broker, you want to build a personal brand. You hear people talk about this all the time. In today's episode, we're going to be looking at what is a personal brand ecosystem, because this is how you build your brand. You need a method and a system to follow. We're going to be looking at in this episode what a personal brand ecosystem is, the definition of that. We're also going to be looking at the areas of personal brand ecosystem to focus on, and we're going to look at why they are so important and break down the pros and cons to both. That's exactly what we're going to be covering in this episode. So let's dive into it. So let's dive straight into what is a personal brand ecosystem. So the definition of a personal brand ecosystem is as follows. A personal brand ecosystem refers to the interconnected network of elements and assets that collectively contribute to the development, maintenance, and promotion of an individual's personal brand. It encompasses the various components and activities that work together to build and reinforce one's personal brand identity. Effectively, it's these things that all connect together in order to build your personal brand. It's not just about being authentic and adding value. There's actually moving parts that you can focus on and you can manipulate. And if you are aware of these, then over time, you're going to build a strong personal brand foundation. Now, you're probably thinking, Ash, that's great, but what are these things, these areas to focus on? And so we're going to look at the areas of personal brand ecosystem. The first one we have is a physical identity. Now, I am going to break these down in more detail throughout this episode and individually, but just to know what they are. We have physical identity, we have digital identity, we have story, we have network, and we have social proof. Those are the 5 key areas for a personal brand ecosystem that you, as a mortgage advisor, as a mortgage expert, you can focus on and manipulate and control within your branding, and that is the stuff that's going to lead people to remember you for certain things. Let's actually have a look at each individual one and explain what they are for you so that you can understand them. So the first one we have is physical identity. What is physical identity? Well, in this, it refers to anything in the physical world of your brand. So for mortgage advisors and mortgage brokers, this is going to be what you wear, the way that you hold yourself, if you have any office presence. So for example, a high street location, all of these things fall into the physical identity realm. And that is giving off an impression of who you are. So if you're someone who wears a suit, that's going to give an impression of someone who wears a suit. If you're someone who wears jeans and a t-shirt, that's part of your physical identity and makes up part of your personal brand ecosystem. It's what happens in the real world, which leads me to the second one, which is digital identity. Now, if you think that physical identity is everything that happens in the real world, digital identity is everything that happens in the digital world. This is your social media, this is your email marketing, this is your online websites, this is anywhere where somebody comes into contact with you, but it's not you, it's a digital representation of you. And so making sure that these two are the same is very important and that you're working on both of them. The third one, as I said, was story. And story is quite simple. It's about who are you and who is your brand. The story of your brand is going to reflect on what people think about you. And so the story of your mortgage business, who you are as an individual, that has been building up this personal brand ecosystem. What's really interesting with story is that story is not about being your life story. And this is the mistake I see many people make. They start talking about story as if it's all about what they did, where they went to school. None of that stuff is actually very relevant. And in a future episode, we're going to break down how you use story to your advantage as a broker, because it's really interesting. In fact, we're going to break down each one of these sections over the next few episodes about exactly how to use them and how you can manipulate each one of these to reach your goals. Which leads me to the next one, which is network. So your network is who you are associated with. So what people say about you will very much be reflected by the company you keep. Have you ever been at school when you're a kid and you're friends with the kid who's naughty and they get in trouble, and then your teacher thinks you're naughty and gets in trouble? That's always the case, and that's because network has a big reflection on that. And you can see this, by the way, in celebrity situations where if someone says something or is associated with something bad in the news, a lot of people distance themselves. Now, I know that it might not be very good, it's not a good friend or anything like that, but what it does do is it protects their careers. And so you want to make sure that the company you keep is reinforcing the good stuff about you. The network you create says more about you. And the final one is social proof. Now, social proof is, do you walk the walk as well as talk the talk? So this is demonstrating that you're doing the work with clients, you've got a proven track record, again, super important. So why are they so important and why do they mix? Let's just talk about this for a second. Well, this ecosystem is what we look at when I work with clients on a one-to-one coaching basis, is we look at how can we manipulate and control factors in each one of these 5 areas, because every single one of these areas is pulling towards a direction that you either want or don't want. Now, what's quite interesting with these is if you are saying to yourself, oh, actually, I don't really pay attention to my physical identity, then that area is already manifesting, it's happening. Every one of these areas is happening. You're going to have a physical identity, a digital identity, a story, a network, and a social proof, whether you actively play a part in it or you passively play a part in it. What I want to implore people to do, and as a coach and as a consultant for many of the mortgage brokers out there, is we take an active role in controlling all of those 5 and then making sure that people get a fully cohesive experience. Let's take physical identity versus digital identity. You want to make sure that's a very cohesive experience. If somebody goes and sees all your videos online, they love your content, and then they go and see you in life and you're not the same, that's a breakdown in trust. It's very similar to you listening to your favorite singer time and time again on repeat to go and watch them live, and then it's terrible. When that happens, you lose their trust. However, what the opposite happens if you go and see them and they're just as good, if not better, live. What actually happens is that you become a super fan. And that is what we're trying to do as mortgage brokers, is get people to feel like when they see you online, that they feel like they know you, that they like you and they trust you. And when they meet you in person for that real appointment, then all of a sudden you are just the rock god of the mortgage world. That's our goal. And we can do this by pulling these levers and creating a consistent narrative. And if you're somebody who struggles with this, and you're somebody who thinks, I don't really know about personal branding and it's all very woo-woo and just add value and be authentic, then I can tell you right now, it doesn't need to be. So you're gonna make sure you check out the next few episodes, because I'm gonna do an episode on each individual one of these and talk about frameworks you can use to help yourself in them. That's what we're gonna be doing next.